Hustler Pro Sales event today. Discount applies to select commercial mowers only. Offer valid 3/1 to 3/31/2026. Restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Power Music, one of the nation's largest music stores, is having an inventory sale. Yes, Power Music in Centerville is now celebrating 89 years with their largest sale of the year. Powers has all of your musical instrument needs, including guitars, drums, keyboards, pianos, band instruments, and so much more. Power Music was the
head coach of the
Flips Award winner from the Better Business Bureau. Award-winning sales and service. That's why Howard's is the best in Dayton. Power Music inventory sale going on now.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Save big on your landscape project at Menards. Whether you're shopping for edgers, pavers, or wall blocks, Menards has the largest in-stock selection of concrete landscape block ready to take home today. Build a beautiful border for your landscape with our interlock edgers on sale now through March 22nd. Save big on landscape block at Menards. Also, check out our weekly flyer on menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, welcome in. Happy Monday, the Justin Kinner Show. We are off and rolling. 1410 ESPN Radio, wingam.com, the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, the Justin Kinner Show YouTube channel, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. Plenty of ways you could take in the show. I appreciate each and every one of you who tune in and hanging out with us each and every afternoon. Shortened show today. We do have Red Spring training action coming up at 4 o'clock, so we'll try to cram everything we need to talk about into one fun, jam-packed filled hour. Again, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show. A lot to talk about. College basketball, March Madness. The madness is officially here, which, speaking of the madness, I want to add this into the mix right here. Basketball Mayhem, presented by our friends over at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. If you head to wingam.com right now, and submit your bracket. I get it. There's a lot of bracket pools out there, but why not add one more to your list, because it helps support a local business here in Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. They're one of our most loyal sponsors and partners here on ESPN Dayton, of course, and we appreciate their partnership on this, because $25 in, of course, Lee's Famous Recipe gift cards will be awarded to the weekly round winners, and then, of course, $150 will be awarded to the grand prize tournament winner. And I know this seems unlikely, but $1 million will be given out to anyone who fills out the bracket 100% accuracy. How about that? Not one miss. Not one miss. Like a real perfect stretch. Not like that Miami of Ohio perfect stretch that ended with the loss to UMass in the conference tournament. I mean, a real unblemished mark right there. So head to wingam.com and submit your bracket for the Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Basketball Mayhem bracket challenge. I'll be submitting mine. I think mine is submitted, but I submitted it quickly. I got to go back and make sure I didn't, make any mistakes, like, right state to the Final Four or something crazy like that. Or maybe they will be. But last night, the field of 68 was officially set. We know who's going to be playing here in Dayton. We know that there are 4 teams from the state of Ohio that are officially dancing this year. Dayton came up just short. We'll talk about the Flyers in a moment. UD, of course, getting to the A-10 championship once again, dropping at the hands of VCU. VCU is just that one thorn in the side of Dayton. I mean, the rivalry between Dayton and VCU goes back years and years and years. A lot of people believe Dayton doesn't have a true rival. I still think when VCU and Dayton pop up on the screen that matchup feels different than any other Dayton matchup, nonetheless. But Basketball Mayhem, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, shout out to our sponsor. Go and get your bracket submitted right now. Now, I don't know how some of you are. I feel like the brackets should be submitted before. Now, the rules of this contest It's not my contest, but the rules of this contest say you have until Thursday, a little before noon, to get your bracket submitted. To me, I'm one of those, I'm a firm believer in the first four is a part of the NCAA tournament. I have no clue why so many people have this rule that you don't have to have it turned in until later in the week. But hey, you have that grace, okay? I got mine turned in now, though, because I feel like, Miami, a lot of you people need to put your money or your least famous recipe chicken where your mouth is. A lot of you are so high on Miami of Ohio. Many of you are so high on the Redhawks. I respect the job that the Redhawks did. I just don't know if what they actually did was worthy of getting an at-large bid. Now, I appreciate Clark Kellogg for coming on. Clark Kellogg will forget more basketball than I will ever remember. But, I'd ask Clark Kellogg, what is that one metric? All right, because there's so many moving parts. What's that one metric that trumps all other metrics? And he said wins. That, that wins. However many, you got to reward winning. And I get that you got to reward winning, but you also can't punish teams who, when we sit there and say, well, you can't punish teams because nobody would play them, you also can't punish teams for who would play them. There's teams that had no business being on the bubble, we said, because look at all those losses, but look at all who they played. Miami did not play anyone of significance all season long. Struggled to beat they won, but struggled to beat Buffalo, struggled to beat bad teams in the MAC, but they beat them, undefeated, unblemished record. I just think Miami is more of a story than they are an at-large team. But it doesn't matter my opinion anymore because the field of 68 came out yesterday, and Miami is officially part of the field of 68. They didn't need to win the MAC to do it. Hell, they got knocked out in the first round. They are an at-large team. The MAC is a two-bid league. How about that? All right, 4 teams from the state of Ohio got in. Wright State out of the Horizon, Ohio State out of the Big Ten, of course, and then 2 teams out of the MAC, which is crazy, and Akron and Miami. And I think Akron's actually a better team. I know Miami beat them. I think Akron is actually a better looking team than Miami. But look, I think that the MAC is pretty damn deep this year, and we're seeing that. The point is I think, and I heard Stephen A. Smith say this on First Take earlier today, that he believes that there is a lot of pressure on the Redhawks, who will play in the first 4. They will be here in Dayton playing on Wednesday night when they go up against SMU. Now, the last line that I saw on that, SMU was favored by 9.5. And I agree with Stephen A. Smith when he says that there is more pressure on Miami than pretty much any other team right now because Miami is carrying a whole division of basketball on their back. And deep down, I had someone say this, that, Kenner, why are you being so vengeful towards Miami? You think as a Wright State fan, you'd be pulling for them. And I understand where people are coming from. I look at Miami. People look at Miami and say, well, that's the blueprint right there. And I'm like, I don't think that that's a blueprint. I think that's an outlier. Going 31-0 because you didn't play anybody, that's not a blueprint. That is an outlier. Even if Wright State put together the most easiest non-conference schedule next year, I still don't expect them to go undefeated at all. Miami can have the same easy schedule next year. They're not going to go undefeated. I believe that this is a good team, but that's not what the NCAA tournament, whether we like it or not, has ever technically been about. It's always been metric driven. Who you play, where you play them, when you play them. Not just that you beat them, but how much did you beat them by? There are times where losses sometimes carry more weight than a win. A win over a bad team versus a loss to a good team. The loss to a good team almost carries more weight. We don't like it. Some people don't, but that's just the reality of it. So as a Wright State fan, yes, I should look at Miami and pull for them. But the bottom line is my problem with Miami has just been the fact that they have carried themselves in a way that I can't get on board with. They are a victim in everything. All right. They didn't play anybody, but they were a victim because nobody would play them. Even though there's a lot of college basketball teams out there mid-major that face the same thing, bigger teams not willing to play them. All right. You're not a victim because nobody wanted to play you. Let's just put it that way. When you have players flipping off the crowd and telling them to go F themselves and doing all this stuff afterwards, but somehow they were the victim because they were being harassed first. I don't know what to tell you. You have the coach who is walking around and just damaging other people's property because he's pissed off at an official's call. I don't like that. I have a problem with that. And now you can add another bullet point to the list of why Miami is a victim. And it's because they're playing in the first 4 in Dayton. To me, if there was ever a team that was more deserving of playing in the first 4 in Dayton, it is Miami. Miami has a lot to prove. They have to prove that they could go and play a good team and beat a good team. Okay? They have to go prove that they can. SMU is a very good basketball team. In fact, they were one of the best teams in the country to start the season, got a little banged up, got behind a bit, played their way back into the bubble. They're an 11 seed. They're in. They're at a 9.5-point favorite, at least the last I checked. And that's a crazy line. The way people talk about Miami is that they're a national championship contender, this, that, and the other. And yet the first real team that you face this year, a 9.5-point dog. Now, I get it. It's a Vegas line. You can't base everything off of that. But if Miami goes out there and looks the part and beats SMU and advances into the NCAA tournament, and they're going to have a winnable game against Tennessee, by the way, right? Like they're going to be paired up with Tennessee if they could beat SMU on Wednesday night. There's a lot of pressure for Miami to go out there and look the part against SMU, look the part against Tennessee, because then guys like me and others who doubted them are going to look really, really silly. We're going to look really, really silly because if they go out there and look the part, then that is the best thing that can happen for the likes of a Wright State, Dayton, and others. So that, when you talk about mid-major teams like Dayton, like Wright State, like Miami, like these others, yes, Miami going out there and looking the part is going to play a huge role in teams moving forward, because if you could prove that, we don't have to face anybody, we don't have to challenge ourselves in the non-con. If I'm Dayton, and maybe Wright State's not even the right comparison here, the team that I actually think should copy the blueprint of Miami more than any other team actually is the Dayton Flyers. Neil Sullivan and the Dayton Flyers are so obsessed with challenging themselves in November and December, and I respect that, don't get me wrong. But if Miami, who played literally nobody in November, December, imagine Dayton if they only had 1 or 2 losses in November, December. And then you go into A10 play where it's not the best conference in college basketball, but there are plenty of quad 1 and 2 opportunities in there to where you would almost, because of win totals, almost guarantee an at-large berth every year. If I'm Dayton, I stop putting these big teams on the non-con. I follow the Miami blueprint. We saw it yesterday, that they are more enamored with the total wins, which is fine. I don't lean that way because I think that some of the teams that don't have as many wins, it's because of they played real teams. But if the committee is going to look at the total wins aspect and say that's the direction we're leaning in, then if I'm Dayton, I'd take off all the tough non-con games as it is. You fans are Flyer fanatics. You were going to go watch Dayton regardless of who they play. I know this because we see it every year. How many times does who in the hell is that state come into UD Arena and there's 13,000 strong cheering them on? Dayton doesn't have to play good teams in the non-con to have fan interest. And in my opinion, Dayton doesn't have to play good teams in the non-con to get to the NCAA tournament. How many times has Dayton played really good competition in the non-con and still not gotten that large bid? Because you take some of the losses from the non-con, and add those to the built-in losses that come in A10 play. I would substitute those tough games in the non-con with easy games, stat pad, get those W's. And then if you lose to LaSalle, you can afford a loss to LaSalle. I'm not advocating you lose to LaSalle, but I'm just saying Dayton puts so much pressure on themselves because they try to pressure themselves in November, December. And then you lose to a Liberty, you lose to some of these teams that you probably should not have put on your schedule, but hey, they look good if you win. But what if you don't? Now you're expected to be perfect in November, December, and January, February. How about you just go play a bunch of nobodies November, December, and then worry about having to beat St. Louis and VCU and others, and you'll be propped up at that point. I don't know. Miami, all the committee taught me yesterday was deep down they push strength of schedule. They push, the quad 1s and 2s, and we value who you play. And then Miami gets an at-large bid, and it's just like, well, you don't value those things. You value the story. Miami was a great story. That's why they made the NCAA tournament. Nonetheless, I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Head to wingam.com. Submit your brackets. It's Basketball Mayhem presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. $25 Lee's Famous Recipe gift cards to the individual round winners, plus $150 gift card to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for the complete tournament winner. Plus, if you get the perfect bracket, you win $1 million. How easy is that? Yes, $1 million to the one individual or maybe two that fill out the perfect bracket. It's never been done before. Maybe it happens this year. Who knows? I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. We'll step away for a few moments. We'll pick up with this conversation when we come back. Ohio State is in. Akron is in. Wright State is in. Miami is in. We'll take a look at who they play, when they play them, and which of these 4 Ohio teams has what it takes to make the deepest run. We'll get to all of that when we come back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
So my friends over at Pure Talk have been sending me customer feedback from consumeraffairs.com, where thousands of people rate and review the top wireless providers. Here, for instance, is a nice note from James in Raleigh, North Carolina, who writes, quote, after hearing Mike Rowe's ad, we made the switch to Pure Talk, and we couldn't be happier. We went from spending $1,200 a year with T-Mobile to $420 with Pure Talk. Thanks, Mike. Switch today! ! Pure Talk is saving James $820 a year. And because he literally wrote the words switch today in capital letters with an exclamation point, I'm going to go ahead and dedicate this commercial to him. So folks, take it from James in Raleigh, North Carolina. Pure Talk can give you unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just $25 a month on the same 5G service the big guys are overcharging you for. Just dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. You'll also save 50% off your first month. That's pound 250 to save an additional 50%. Thanks, James.
Jackson Hewitt will do your taxes for $149 or less, no matter how complicated. So if you're a delivery driver / handyman / wedding DJ, you pay only $149 or less. We're talking to you, waitress.
Check, please.
/ pet sitter / influencer. Just $149 or less. Want your refund to work as hard as you? Hurry. Don't wait. File with Jackson Hewitt today. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com /149.
A is for ABS, B is for BCM, C is for CBT, D is for, don't worry, we're not going to quiz you, because at Carroll Works Tire, we know the auto industry is full of acronyms. But here's the one that matters the most: tire. Trust, integrity, reliability, expertise. Carroll Works Tire, keeping Dayton rolling from A to Z. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
Progressive knows you think the grass is always greener, like maybe you ride a motorcycle. But today, it's raining. So you wish you had an RV, but if you did, you'd have to listen to some guy parked next to you at a campsite plays acoustic guitar. Now, before you start wishing you had a boat, remember, your brother-in-law would invite himself every weekend.
Permission to come aboard, Captain?
The one thing that is greener is the money you could save when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Upgrade to a new quality bath remodel in less time with minimal inconvenience and for less money with Bath Creations in as little as 2 days. We do it right. There are a lot of others boasting about bath remodels these days. Well, Bath Creations' expert craftsmanship and customer service speaks for itself. Plus, all first responders, veterans, and active military will save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit our beautiful showroom at 8741 North Kimball Road in Clayton or at mybathcreations.com and upgrade your new bath today.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Basketball Mayhem presented by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Submit your brackets today, wingam.com. $150. $150 Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken gift card to the tournament winner. $25 Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken gift cards to the individual round winners, plus $1 million to anybody that fills out the perfect bracket. How about that? Go check that out. Submit your brackets today, wingam.com. Are you one of those that submits your brackets, on Thursday before the first games tip off at noon? Or do you do it like I do? I feel like, hey, the first games tip off tomorrow night. I feel like those brackets need to be turned in tomorrow night. Doesn't matter, though, because on Basketball Mayhem, you have until Thursday. But mine will be entered early. How about that? But we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Tax season is officially here. Yes, and I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long, long time, and that's get my taxes done early. Or maybe I shouldn't say early. I should just say on time. How about that? But tax season is officially here. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, who's going to do my taxes? Try my friends over at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael and Joe today at 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 100 South Church Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits, and all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction. Again, give Michael Maxwell and Joe Tanis a call today at Arrowhead Tax Service if you haven't already done so to get those taxes submitted and filed and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm doing that tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning will be the earliest that I have filed my taxes probably in the longest time. Usually I just wait as close up to tax day for whatever reason just to make my life more miserable, but not doing that. I'm getting mine done tomorrow. Give Michael Maxwell and Arrowhead Tax Service a call today. One more time, 937-543-5770. All right. Yesterday, the NCAA announced the 68-team field for March Madness. 4 teams from the state of Ohio all will be dancing this season. How about Ohio State? The Buckeyes, Jake Diebler did a fantastic job rallying this group and getting a player like Bruce Thornton into the NCAA tournament, the school's all-time leading scorer. There was almost a good possibility a few weeks ago that the school's all-time leading scorer never would have scored a point in the NCAA tournament. That's no longer going to be the case. Ohio State drew an 8 seed, and they're going to take on 9 seed TCU coming up on Thursday. That'll be the very first game that tips off the NCAA tournament in 8 versus 9. How about that? The winner, though, in the winner of the 8 versus 9 goes on to face, Duke in the second round, most likely. So how about that? But how about Akron out of the MAC? They go on to win the MAC championship after, of course, Miami ended up getting upset by UMass. And because of that, Miami getting upset in the MAC tournament was actually a good thing for the MAC because it presented an opportunity for them to become a 2-bid league because of the bid stealer. Miami won the regular season title. They could have won the MAC tournament. They would have been the lone team from the MAC. I mean, I don't know what the metrics would have been for Akron to get in, but seeing as 31-0 put Miami in the play-in game in the first 4, I highly doubt Akron would have got that at large bid. So it ended up working out well for the MAC that Miami ended up losing early. So Ohio State's in as an 8 seed. They'll take on 9 seed at TCU this Thursday at 12:15. Akron, they drew a 12 seed. They will take on 5 seed Texas Tech on Friday. The Redhawks out of the MAC, they are in. We're going to get a chance to see them here in Dayton as they drew the 11 seed. They're going to take on opposing 11 seed SMU Wednesday night around 9 o'clock at UD Arena in the first 4. And a lot of people are pretty upset about Miami having to play in the first 4, that it's disrespectful. 31-0, and they're having to play their way into the tournament. I'm sorry, but when Miami runs onto the floor on Wednesday night, it'll be a March Madness floor. It'll be the NCAA tournament. In fact, I think it's better to play this game if you're Miami because you're going to be a standalone game. All eyes will be on Miami. They're the biggest story in college basketball. And if you are what all your crybaby fans keep telling everybody you are, go beat SMU. You're not a victim here by having to play in the first 4. Go beat SMU and then go beat Tennessee and advance to the round of 32 coming up this weekend. How about that? I'm excited for that. UD Arena is going to be rocking with Miami in town nonetheless. As far as Wright State is concerned, they drew a 14 seed. Look, they've never been anything higher than a 14 seed. They won the regular season. They won the Horizon League tournament. They won the Horizon League regular season outright. So it's the first time in school history where Wright State would win the regular season outright and the Horizon League tournament and get to the NCAA tournament. And that's what they're going to do for the 5th time in program history. And they will take on Virginia in the 11 versus 3. They will not play until Friday. That'll be a 1:50 tip-off, and we'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Wright State, of course, the last time they were in the NCAA tournament was back in 2022. They also got that first 4 nod where they knocked off Bryant in the 16 versus 16 in the 2022 first 4, which gave them their first NCAA tournament win in school history. Can they pull off the upset? I mean, the line is 18.5. Well, Kenner, there's no way. Well, that's why if they win, it'll be an upset. And how many upsets have happened over the years where those teams have no way? Maybe this is Wright State's year. Who knows? But they're a super young team. They're top 2 players are 2 true freshmen. They're built by built with a bunch of first and second year guys, a second year head coach, youngest team in the Horizon League to win the tournament in over a decade. We'll see what happens, but they're dancing in March. They're one of 4 teams from the state of Ohio to advance to the NCAA tournament, which the last couple of years, we've had 2 and 3 here and there, but only 4. And we were very close to getting 5. Dayton, all right, after that miracle win, not miracle, it was such a fun finish, and that finish against St. Louis. I'm very glad. I think it was Montgomery. I can't remember who it was, the player that ran out onto the floor. after the Latong putback because he thought that was the game winner and that you had the bench coming out to pull him off the floor. I'm glad because the officials easily could have teed Dayton up and Dayton would have lost in heartbreaking fashion in the semifinals. I am glad that the official did not call the technical there. I know a lot of people were making a bunch about that, but that was such a great game, such a great finish. Both coaches letting both teams play it out, not calling a timeout late. I thought it was a fun game. It was a memorable game. It would have been more memorable, however, if Dayton would have been able to pull it out against VCU the next night, but that just couldn't happen. Dayton loses to VCU in, of course, the A-10 championship game, 70-62. Dayton was down 40-25 at the half. They were down 20-plus points for the majority of that game. Now, to Dayton's credit, they outscored VCU 37-30 in the second half, but because they had dug themselves such a big hole in that first half, there was just no coming back from it. Dayton will not be dancing, and this has become more, it continues to be a problem due to the fact that this is now, in 9 seasons with Anthony Grant as the head coach, 9 seasons, twice, technically once, only once have you heard the Dayton Flyers name called on Selection Sunday in the seasons that Anthony Grant has been the head coach. Since Anthony Grant has been named the head coach of the Dayton Flyers, Wright State has made the NCAA tournament 3 times. 3 times. But that's a problem. I get it was a fun story. It was a great finish against St. Louis in the semifinals. They get to the final. They get punked by VCU. And now Dayton is heading to the NIT. I will say this. So Dayton's going to play Wednesday night in the NIT. They're going to be at Bradley. They have to go on the road to play at Bradley, the first 4 here at Dayton. So for the first 2 games, if Dayton wins, we'll have to be on the road as far as that goes. But Dayton and the NIT at Bradley coming up on Wednesday. I will say this. There's so many teams that have opted out of the NIT, and Dayton, who I accuse of being a very snobby program at times, I'm glad that they are playing in the NIT. I really am. Like, I do not think Dayton is too good of a program to play in the NIT. I get really frustrated when teams opt out of the NIT, and that's not the case. I know there was a lot of speculation out there about Anthony Grant potentially retiring at the end of the year. To me, that doesn't seem to be the case. Anthony Grant, I think if Dayton, they committed to the NIT, I don't think you're doing that if Anthony Grant's about to retire. I think we saw that out of UC. Wes Miller is no longer the head coach of the Bearcats, and they announced that their season's done. They are not going to take part in the Crown, which is that tournament over in Las Vegas. So that will not be the case for UC moving forward. Their season comes to an end. Xavier's season comes to an end nonetheless. Speaking of coaches and retirement and all of that, one of my all-time favorite coaches in Thad Matta officially announced that he is retiring earlier today. Thad Matta won over 500 games as a head coach, 3 different stops, Xavier, Ohio State, where he had his most dominant run, and then 5 years at Butler. Couldn't get a lot rolling at Butler. When it was announced that he was going to take the Butler job, I thought that was an exciting thing. I thought that was going to be a nice pairing right there. But in the ever-evolving world of college athletics, Butler just does not have the money or resources. There's been many coaches throughout the year that called out Butler for not providing Thad Matta, who they're fortunate to have him as a head coach, with the resources necessary for him to go out there and compete. But Thad Matta calls it a career. 502 wins, 24 NCAA tournament wins, 7 conference tournament championships between his 3 stops at Xavier, Ohio State, and Butler. And then, of course, 2 Final Four appearances. The Final Four in the early 2000s, of course, with Greg Oden. My goodness. Slow down, kidder. My goodness. Greg Oden, Mike Conley, Daquan Cook. That team and that group was so dang fun to watch back in the day. That was really neat, taking that team to the Final Four, to the national championship. They ultimately lost to Florida. And then that other group that he took to the Final Four with Sullinger, William Buford, Aaron Kraft, John Diebler, and Greg Oden, both were an assistant on his staff. Oden was not on the staff this year, but John Diebler was. But yeah, I hate to see a coach like that call it a career. But that's it for him. But yeah, he coached some of my favorite Buckeye teams growing up. He was one of my all-time favorite coaches. Shout out to Thad Matta, who called it a career earlier today. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. That's the number to call and jump in on the conversation. We got Cincinnati Reds baseball here around the corner. Spring training action, of course. We're going to talk about that more here in just a moment. Hunter Green, we know, is not going to pitch until probably July. it's going to be a minute before we see Hunter Green make his return to the Cincinnati Reds, which means no more of that BS baloney talk about Chase Burns having to come out of the bullpen. Well, I think there's other talks coming out that not only will Chase Burns not come out of the bullpen, he might not be in the rotation at all. He might have to come out of AAA. I don't know what's going on with Chase Burns. We're going to talk about all of that as well when we come back. More college basketball, Reds baseball coming up around the corner. Plus, we have some other NFL news and headlines out of NFL free agency. We get to all of that coming up. More of the Justin Kinner Show next.
During Lowe's Pro Savings Days, the job works in your favor. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members buy more and save more on materials they rely on every day. Get up to 25% off select molding when you spend $1,000 or more, and up to 25% off Pergo Evercraft laminate flooring. Put Pro Savings Days to work for you. Members get more at Lowe's. Valid through 3/27. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. The loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Visit the Pro Desk or Lowes.com/terms for more details. Subject to change.
Okay, class, let's begin.
Psst, love your boots. I just sold a pair like that on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it took like 2 seconds to list and they sold almost immediately. I've been selling everything lately. Some chunky boots, a faux fur coat I never wore, and a vintage chair that was more of an expensive clothing rack.
You know, I actually bought these on eBay. Wait, are you Kitty Sell Stuff from Brooklyn?
Okay, quiet, please.
Find what you love, sell what you don't. eBay. Things people love.
Ready to love where you live? The Clark County Home and Garden Show returns March 27th through the 29th at the Clark County Fairgrounds in Springfield, presented by Home Genius Interiors. This is your chance to meet trusted local pros, explore fresh ideas, and get inspired for your next renovation or landscaping project. Admission is free, powered by Buckeye Decorative Concrete. 3 days, real experts, real inspiration. March 27th through 29th, the Clark County Home and Garden Show, where your next project begins.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Ohio. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Are you ready to tackle this tax season alone? Well, you don't have to. Belmont Business Consultants and Tax Services, with its 30-plus years of experience, is here to help you with business and individual taxes, bookkeeping, and payroll, either in person, drop-off, or through their secure client portal. Belmont Business Consultants in Eaton and Dayton is standing by. Call them in Eaton at 937-472-3300 or in Dayton at 937-252-2217 or on the web at belmontbctxs.com.
Welcome to today's game. This is Paul Keels, and you know how much I love broadcasting the Buckeyes, but I also love high school sports. On behalf of the OHSAA, let's all do our part to set a good example and make this a fun and safe experience for the kids involved. I know this game means so much to the players, coaches, and fans, but high school sports are about much more than the wins and losses. They teach life lessons that will be with the players long after their playing days are over. Good luck to both teams, and remember to respect the game.
It's the Race Cars and Future Stars Expo 2026, March 20th through 22nd at the Pickwas Center. Friday and Saturday, 11 to 9. Sunday, noon to 5. Saturday is Kids Day with balloon artists, face painting, and the Dayton Race Fans Benefit Auction at 1 o'clock. Over 60 race cars from Ohio and Indiana. Your chance to be up close with some of the best cars and drivers in the area. Food, fun, and entertainment. Admission is free. The Race Cars and Future Stars Expo at the Pickwas Center, I-75, exit 82. Don't miss it.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
The Ohio State Buckeyes take on TCU in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We'll have all of that for you right here on Dayton's radio, home of the Ohio State Buckeyes football and basketball, of course, 1410 Wing AM. Thursday, 12:15, the tip-off in that one. And, of course, we'll also have more NCAA tournament action for you here because we're also Dayton's radio home for Wright State basketball as well. Wright State will be in action on Friday when they take on Virginia in the 14 versus 3. That'll be a 1:50 tip-off time on Friday. Looking forward to that one for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Ohio State and TCU, 12:15 on Thursday. Ohio State is a 2.5-point favorite in that one. The winner between Ohio State and TCU will go on to face the winner of Duke and Siena. Gee, I wonder who they're going to play. So that'll be later on this weekend. But yeah, excited about that. Lots of college basketball. Miami in the first four. Akron out of the MAC also made the tournament. Wright State on Friday. At 1:50 they'll take on Virginia in the 14-3, and then Ohio State on Thursday. Dayton in the NIT. There's just a lot going on, a lot of moving parts, and I'm just glad for the first time in a long time. There's plenty of Ohio teams. There's so many great programs in the state of Ohio, and have so many of these programs involved in college basketball's postseason. I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, like Cincinnati, although they're not playing, they're making the headlines with the direction of where they're going to go at head coach. Jared Calhoun, I'm very familiar with Jared Calhoun, the head coach over at Utah State, of course. But, before that, he was a longtime coach over at Youngstown State, very familiar with his work over there. Played for Bob Huggins, and he seems to be one of the favorites to land the UC job. To me, I know people have mixed feelings on Bob Huggins, but one of the biggest problems with Cincinnati has just been their inability to return to any kind of return to an identity that has any kind of toughness. Bob Huggins has a lot of off the court demons. I don't think that there is any secret about it, and I'm not willing to dismiss those demons. But at the same time, if there is a window where Bob Huggins could coach again, can you imagine seeing him reunite with Cincinnati and what they could do in the Big 12? Because the bottom line is Wes Miller got good players at UC. He just couldn't do anything with them. And you get good players at a program because that usually means you have a pretty good, healthy bank of dollars when it comes to NIL. You just get the right coach with the right talent. I think everything's going to take off from there. Calhoun, I think, would be a solid hire. But the noise that would make the move that would make noise and shock waves throughout college basketball, if Bob Huggins has a run left in him to be a head coach, I can't imagine what that would mean to Cincinnati to get him back. It's unlikely. But I know that a lot of the do-gooders out there will have a lot of reasons why he should not be the coach. I get that, but I'm just talking from a basketball standpoint. Bob Huggins makes all the sense in the world as far as that goes. So we'll see. Xavier, they're quiet. Their season comes to an end year one. I think that Xavier's season being quiet as their season ended in the Big East tournament is a good thing, because I think the only way that their season is loud right now is if they would have lost, Patino Jr. to Providence. That's where we talk Xavier. So I think if you're a Xavier fan, not a lot of Xavier fans in Dayton, but if you are a Xavier fan, I think the fact that no one's talking about your team, probably a good thing. I think you guys need to lay under the radar a little bit, because, there was a lot. I think it would make sense if Patino Jr. does leave Xavier to go take that Providence job. I think it would make a lot of sense in the world, an alum, all that fun stuff. I think that would be the job that he would leave, Xavier for. We'll see what happens. Very curious to see, with Miami playing on Wednesday night, Travis Steele, I do not think that his future goes beyond Wednesday night if they lose. I think that is his future in Miami. I think he will take one of these, vacant job openings. I think, Travis Steele, I've said before, if I'm UC, I don't let him leave the state. If I'm UC, I don't let him leave the state, and we'll see what happens there. I think Calhoun makes sense in Cincinnati. If I'm Dayton, I've had enough with Anthony Grant. I'm tired of coming up short all the time. I'm tired of the same old song and dance every year with Dayton when it comes to Anthony Grant. I get that he wins a lot of games, but that's the expectation. You're not winning a lot of games because Anthony Grant's your head coach. You're winning a lot of games because of the money and the resources and the opportunities to go get good players presents itself. You could sit there and go get a bunch of different chefs to cook you a meal. You're going to provide the chefs with all the same ingredients, but some chefs make their food taste better than others. I think that you can get a better chef. I don't know if that chef is our guy Travis Steele or not, but if I'm Dayton or I'm UC, I'm not letting Travis Steele leave the state. If I'm Dayton, I'm over the Anthony Grant. It's not even an experience anymore. It's been a decade of nothing but constant underachievement. It's been a decade of constant excuses. Every year, there is a reason that a lot of Flyer faithful want to tell me, well, they didn't accomplish what they wanted to because of injury, because of this, because of that, because of NIL, because of yada, yada, yada. I get it. In the world of NIL, every team out there has an excuse as to why their team didn't quite cut it. but no team has ever quite not cut it more consistently than the Dayton Flyers. No team has done less with more, in my opinion, than Dayton in our region. I'm a do more with less type of guy. I'm always very impressed. I mean, you look at Miami. Their NIL is good, but it's not Dayton Flyer good. Their arena is cool. It's not UD Arena cool. The resources that they have is nothing compared to Dayton. Dayton, all they do is constantly underachieve and make excuses. And I'm over it. Travis Steele, if he's available, if he's willing to leave Miami, and Dayton just brings back Anthony Grant so that we can, see the same thing happen again and again and again. Season starts out hot. They have a stretch of really bad basketball that shoots their at-large opportunities in the foot. Then they win a game or two in the A10 to make you think that they have a shot, and then lay a goose egg like they did against VCU, like they've done against VCU over and over and over. Dayton continuing to settle for Anthony Grant because they're so worried about, oh my gosh, what do we do? Well, we have to have a coach that doesn't view us as a springboard job. I'm here to tell you that's exactly what Dayton is. It's a springboard job because any program that doesn't take itself serious enough to fire a coach who continuously underachieves and rolls them out in the NIT over and over and over instead of, finding a coach that can get them to dance more. I'm a Wright State guy, but even I'm smart enough to know that Wright State should never go in a 10-year period, tripling the NCAA tournament appearances as the Dayton Flyers. Dayton tries to pretend like Wright State doesn't exist. It's kind of hard to pretend that Wright State doesn't exist when they've tripled the amount of NCAA tournament appearances that you've had in the last 10 years. I mean, like I said, Selection Sunday was cool yesterday, but for the third time in 10 years, I got to hear Wright State's name be called on Selection Sunday. In the last 10 years, I've only heard Dayton's name be called once on Selection Sunday. That's a problem. It just is. Wright State is one of the least funded programs in the entire state. And yet, the whole goal of college basketball is to get to the tournament. Wright State does it. Dayton doesn't. Imagine, what the athletics department at Wright State would do if they had the budget that Dayton did. They would actually maximize those dollars, just like they maximize, some of the least amount of dollars coming in for a lot of these, Ohio schools out there. I'm just saying, give me this program that does less with more, that does more with less. And that's Wright State every year. Dayton does less with more. And it's frustrating. It really is. Nonetheless, and Dayton fans, you should be upset about that too. It shouldn't be me saying this. You should be saying this. You should be screaming it from the mountaintop instead of the lame excuses of, well, Anthony Grant's a nice guy. There's a lot of nice guys that are nice and win basketball games that matter. You want the nice guy that can't win the big games? Or do you want the nice guy that can win the big games and dance in March? I'll take that guy. Because Wright State has a hell of a coach. They have a hell of a nice guy leading their program who is a nice guy and wins the big games. Just saying. Let's transition over to baseball. We have about 10 minutes before we hand it off to the Reds. More spring training action. It's kind of crazy as we sit here on the 16th. We're 11 days away from opening day. Things are moving along. And coming up at the top of the hour, we will have Red spring training action, 4:05 the first pitch. But right now the injuries are starting to pile up for Cincinnati now. Okay. The injuries are starting to pile up. This one was a little bit concerning. Obviously, the Hunter Green news was a real kick in the pants, coming out of spring training that, not only was he felt elbow discomfort and he went and got a first and second opinion and, they're going to shut him down and he's going to have surgery and he's going to be unavailable for quite some time. Won't be available until July, and I'll be surprised if we see him in July. So he's out. And I kept saying, the Reds pitching staff is deep enough to withstand a lengthy absence of Hunter Green. And look, we saw it last year. Hunter Green, since being called up by the Reds, and forget that, Hunter Green, since being drafted by the Reds, has never gone a complete season, whether it was in Dayton, whether it was in Louisville, whether it was with the Reds. He has never gone a complete season without spending at least a month on the IL. The Reds organizationally have become very used to having to go long periods of time without their star pitcher and Hunter Green. It's nothing new. But what you can't have happen is have compounding injuries. I think that this team is deep enough to withstand a lengthy absence of Hunter Green, but what you can't have is guys' injuries starting to pile up. And unfortunately, that's starting to be the case here. These seem like three very isolated situations, but when you look at the you're only as good as the sum of your parts, and the sum of the parts of the Reds is pretty good. But whenever you're losing guys, that kind of chips away at that. That's a problem. So Hunter Green's going to be out for a while. How about this name out of the bullpen? This came out a few days ago. We just haven't had time to dive into it. Cincinnati Reds reliever Caleb Ferguson, one of the big names in the bullpen that they went and got this offseason. He is dealing with an oblique strain and isn't expected to be available for the start of the season. Terry Francona told reporters that Ferguson has a mild right oblique strain. The Reds signed Ferguson to a 1-year, $4.5 million contract back in December. Ferguson's only 29 years old. He made a career-high 70 appearances last season with the Pirates and the Mariners. Between both of those, look, 5-4. I don't care about records. Is what his record was last year. He had a 3 ERA at about 3.5 last year, 51 strikeouts in just over 65 innings of work. So, I mean, we're talking about a guy that almost gives you at least a strikeout every appearance. That's pretty dang good. And to not have him to start the season, to not have Hunter Green to start the season, okay, not ideal. Here's where it becomes even more less ideal. Chase Burns is not projected to make the Reds opening day roster, according to C. Trent Rosecrans. Now, at first, when I read this, I'm thinking, okay, he's not hurt, but, they're probably, because coming into the season, I think the Reds were letting you know very much. They're trying to find ways to maximize his usage while not overusing him. That's why I do believe, when you think about the relationship that beat writers have with these organizations, I don't believe that the beat writers for the Reds would have come out and said, hey, there's a good chance you could see Chase Burns in the bullpen. I don't think that gets out there unless something was fed to them of a possibility that they were looking at. So I said at the beginning, it doesn't surprise me that the Reds were maybe tinkering with the idea of using Chase Burns in the bullpen, because I think they have a deep rotation as it is. And if you can get some if you can get some big time production from Chase Burns early in the season with his strikeout numbers and everything else, and he's coming out of the bullpen, and then you start to rev him up more as the season goes on to have him ready to go for hopefully postseason baseball, I'm fine with that. But he's going to be on an innings count, and they're going to want to limit that. And it doesn't surprise me when I saw this headline that Chase Burns is not projected to make the Reds opening day roster. So with all that being said, it's not an innings count thing. This is strictly he might be hurt type of thing. The Reds did not like how Burns' arm was moving, and they plan to proceed cautiously. Brandon Williamson is projected as the number 5 starter, with his strong spring being a factor in slow playing Burns nonetheless. I don't know how concerned you guys are, how concerned we should be, but Chase Burns is not projected to be on the Reds opening day roster. I love the Reds rotation. I'm a big Andrew Abbott fan. I've made that be known on this show for quite some time. I think that he was the Reds' best pitcher last year, not Hunter Green. I mainly think that because Andrew numbers said that, but also his availability said that. And I know Andrew was not available to start the season, but he has been named the opening day starter, which is coming up here in just a few weeks. It's very crazy, I know. But Chase Burns, the opening day starter, not Chase Burns, Andrew Abbott, the opening day starter, is big. You have Nick Lodolo, right? You have Brady Singer. It sounds like you have Williamson in this mix as well. Like, you have players in this rotation that are going to be pretty dang good. But like I said, I would feel better if Chase Burns was a part of that rotation when it's all said and done. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. How about a little bit more positive conversation here? How about the spring of Matt McClain? Matt McClain has been absolutely phenomenal this season. Matt McClain has more hits, more home runs, more RBIs than any other Red this spring, which is big because I get for some people you don't want to put a whole lot of stock into offensive numbers, good or bad, in spring training. I will say, when you look at how bad Matt McClain was last season, if he would have had bad numbers in spring, you could say, well, that doesn't matter at spring training. I would have had a major concern if we saw bad spring training numbers after a bad regular season in 2025. So the fact that we are seeing him lead in pretty much every major offensive statistical category throughout spring with a couple weeks left, I'm going to say that's a positive thing. Matt McClain in a few weeks of spring training games has hit 6 home runs. Matt McClain in a few weeks of spring training games has hit 13 RBIs and he's had 21 hits. In 21 hits, he's hit a double, he's hit a triple, he's driven in 13 runs. He's had 42 total bases. He's drawn 5 walks, and he's only struck out 4 times. Struck out 4 times in 38 at-bats. 4 times that he's played in 13 spring training games, and he struck out 4 times. I'll take that. He has a couple stolen bases as well. I think that Matt McClain is a very important piece because I think we kind of forget about him because that's how bad he was. We talk about the addition of Eugenio Suarez and what we expect from an Elly De La Cruz. And you look around and Noelvi Marte. Noelvi Marte has been phenomenal as well. Noelvi Marte has a couple home runs this spring. He scored 4 runs. He has double-digit hits already in 13 games. He's averaging about a hit a game at this point. Noelvi Marte has driven in 9 runs. He has 10 hits. He scored 4 runs himself. Noelvi Marte, though, my only concern is the high strikeout rate for him, but that's a conversation for later. Sal Stewart has been phenomenal as well. Sal Stewart has 5 strikeouts in 13 games that he's played. In 31 at-bats, he struck out 5 times. It's on the lower end of the strikeout numbers for some of these guys. But, you look at Sal Stewart in 31 at-bats, he has scored 7 runs. Has 11 hits in 31 at-bats. He has multiple extra base hits. He has 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, 19 total bases. He's drawn 8 walks. He sees the ball really well. He puts the ball in play. He drives in runs. What I'm surprised at is that the power is what I was really anticipating from him, and he's only hit 2 home runs, as I mentioned, but I'm sure that power will come as the season progresses. We'll see what ultimately happens. And then keeping an eye on the Eugenio Suarez front. Eugenio Suarez has only played in 5 spring training games, but in his 13 at-bats, he has multiple hits in his 13 at-bats. He's only driven in, 1 home run, or he's only knocked the ball out of the ballpark once. But if Matt McClain is playing like this with Sal Stewart, and of course, we talked about Noelvi Marte, and then that's when you start to really get to the production of an Elly De La Cruz and Eugenio Suarez. I think that's when we're going to see that's where really, I think, the biggest growth and factor that we could see in this team as far as that goes. But I'm excited about that nonetheless. And look at that. We're out of time. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. 937-518-1410. We'll talk more about some of this stuff on tomorrow's show. Make sure you go to wingam.com and get your Basketball Mayhem bracket submitted. $150 in Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken gift cards will be given to the tournament winner, $25 to the individual round winners. So go and get your basketball picks submitted at wingam.com. It's the Basketball Mayhem Bracket Challenge presented by our friends at Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. All right, good stuff, everybody. Again, the madness is officially here. 4 teams out of the state of Ohio. Wright State, a 14 seed. They'll take on Virginia in the 14 versus 3 on Friday. 1:50 will be the tip-off time for that one. We'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Thursday, Ohio State, the Buckeyes back in the big dance, of course. They're in the battle of it in 8 versus 9. It'll be Ohio State against TCU. That's a 12:15 tip-off time, and we'll have that for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio on Thursday as well. We're excited about that. And then Miami, the Redhawks. We won't have that game for you here on the station, but we do have the Redhawks here in Dayton as they take on SMU in the first 4 at the University of Dayton Arena on Wednesday night. A lot of intriguing storylines in and outside of the NCAA tournament. The Dayton Flyers are in postseason action as well. They did not make the NCAA tournament, but they are in the NIT field. They got the number 2 seed, and they will play at Bradley at 9 o'clock on Wednesday. Nonetheless, tomorrow, Paul Frischner from the Rebound Rundown, he will be with us in studio. We're actually going to head down to the arena to watch Miami practice tomorrow, and then we're going to come back and knock out the show. Excited to talk some college hoops with him nonetheless. But have a great rest of your night, everybody. It's now time for Reds baseball right here on Dayton's radio, home of Cincinnati Reds, 1410 Wing AM.
Save big on everything for your next project now at Menards. Keep your home neat and organized with help from Dakota. Whether you need extra storage or want to add an accent to your living space, Menards has the shelving solutions for you. Dakota shelving comes in a variety of finishes to match your style. View our entire selection of Dakota shelf boards on Menards.com. Plus, check out